Morning. Come on up there. One thing I noticed since coming on board the old guard is noticing that there's a strong, deep vein of concern for the unlucky and the less fortunate in our society. And having already learned from Paul what Blair has been up to with the Morris Habitat for Humanity, let me just turn it over to her, and she will describe what's happening in Summit in that sense. Thank you.
Good morning, Summit area Old Guard. Thank you so much for inviting me here today with my colleague Chris Palazzi to talk with you a little bit about affordable housing and we're good here. Affordable housing, how it affects our communities, about the Summit project, and I will get to that, but I have to tell you why we do what we do and a little bit about Habitat for Humanity. And I know you all know about Habitat, so I'll keep that part, we'll try to run through it. But affordable housing is very misunderstood by the public. I mean, if you just think about it, who is it? Who are those people? Why do we have to do this? And there's so many myths and misconceptions about affordable housing developments. And, it's basically based on fear, negative stereotypes, what's going to happen to my property values, and is my neighborhood going to change? And I have all my stuff up here. But in reality, the lack of affordable housing costs the U.S. Money in other areas. The economic and the social impact is really drastic. Cities that fail and towns, municipalities that fail to have affordable housing options and solutions for their residents lose potential workers, and it discourages growth in our local economies. Okay, there we go. Home. Now we all live in a home, right? So what does home mean to you? And we think about that. And I've heard it described by some of our families that it's a foundation for the future. One of our teenagers remembers that when he was 9 and his mother put in all these hundreds of hours of sweat equity, that it was a fresh start for their family. It's comfort, it's security, it's favorite family memories, a great place for sleepovers, and it's a place of respite. But how did housing get so unaffordable? And you're reading about this in the paper every day. If you look at your Google feed, it's coming up in everything. Of course, mine does a lot because of the work I do. I'm always reading different articles. But how did we get here? I can tell you in this area, we build in Morris, Union, Middlesex counties. We've built in Passaic County, and throughout northern New Jersey, Warren and Sussex counties. And it's challenging because this is one of the most expensive housing markets. You know that already. Monthly rents for a 1-bedroom are about $1,800. And the average home price, at least in Morris County, and I'm sure it's not much different in Union County, between $450,000 and $500,000. When I bought my first house in 1977, $33,000. We had a 6% mortgage, which was okay. We could put our 20% down because 20% of 33,000 is doable, right? And we had one income. My husband's income. So we could do that. Today, that same scenario, you can't do it. So it started, so we got to this place, decades of federal and state housing policies that excluded Black residents from mid-century homeownership and the wealth building boom. And you'll read about this more and more as housing groups, different demographics start advocating for more, bridging that wealth gap. subsidized home mortgages to white borrowers, funded the infrastructure projects that bulldoze Black communities, redlining communities considered undesirable for lending and investment, allowed unscrupulous investors to buy up at cheap prices. This is all, it's all documented, and this is really how we got to where we are today. Let's see here. So I want you to meet Alice, and not that Alice, the Alice in Wonderland. Who is Alice? Alice are the workers in our communities, our healthcare aides, our landscapers, our service industry personnel, our dental hygienists, cashiers, office workers. Alice are the people that you know, the people we need, and the people we love. And Alice is somebody who can't find a place to live here. That home health care worker or your child care worker, if your kids are looking for child care, they're the folks that we need, but they can't live here. In fact, many of our restaurants bus in folks from other areas just to work on our retail and our restaurants. You can't find a place for 1,800. I'm sorry, you can't find an inexpensive apartment when they're $1,800 a month, because that takes about $30 an hour to afford, or $60,000 a year. So you already know Alice. Alice are the people that are in our lives every day, and Alice stands for asset limited, income constrained, employed. Okay, so here's an example of Alice. In fact, Irina lives at our 39 Morris Avenue Summit, our first habitat project in Summit. She has 2 kids, and at the time she was earning $38,000 a year as a teacher's aide. The average rent, again, we keep hearing it, is in the area that she was teaching was $1,500, which wasn't too bad. But in order to afford that, again, she needed to make $60,000. Even if she tried to get a better job, she wasn't going to make $60,000. Okay. So, you know, a house is not just a house, it's a home. It's a place that shelters and protects. It offers that safe place for people. And it's the folks like, you know, I was mayor of Mountain Lakes way back in 2002, a long time ago. And our manager came to me and he said, Blair, there's a big snowstorm coming and I need to put the DPW up in the local hotel. And I said, why? Why do you have to do that? I mean, my goodness. He said, well, that's because they're all living in Pennsylvania in Western Morris County, or Western New Jersey, rather. And I need them here to plow our roads. That's Alice. People that we need. The folks in Mountain Lakes need to get to work. And it was right after 9/11. And so they were, you know, the economy was powering up. So these are the folks that they can't live here. And if we don't have a you know, place for everyone, our communities suffer. So 3 reasons why affordable housing creates a better world. It's great for kids, it builds sustainable communities, and it promotes diversity. And the economic benefits of affordable housing is more money is spent in local communities, fewer evictions, and each one of these I could go into an hour on, and I won't do that because I want to get to the Summit project, but I wanted to give you a basis for why we do what we do. And it's really to encourage healthier communities. And each one of these line items here, these bullet points, has a story that has an effect on us and on our local communities. Healthier populations means a healthier economy. More affordable housing creates more job opportunities in our businesses. My admin, people at my business at Morris Habitat, college degrees, can't find a place to live. Improved government infrastructure and better opportunities for investing in the future. So what do we do? And I know you know about Habitat. We build strength, stability, self-reliance through shelter. We are the group that works together with the community. Our organization was founded by Millard and Linda Fuller in 1976 after they had some marriage difficulties and decided to give up their wealth and focus, and Millard decided to give up his job and focus on their family. And they found a place called Koinonia Farms down in Marcus, Georgia, near Plains, Georgia. So we know who lived in Plains or lives in Plains, right? Koinonia was a demonstration project that was founded by this pastor named Clarence Jordan, who wanted to demonstrate that whites and blacks can live and work together. And he had this program called Partnership Housing, where they raised some money, they got together as a community, kind of like an old-fashioned barn raising, and they would build a house and they would sell the house to the family. That family would come pay their mortgage back into this fund that they called Fund for Humanity, and that money was used to build other homes. So it was a great model. Koinonia Farms is still operating today. Millard took these themes and he founded Habitat for Humanity in 1976. And today we are in 70 countries, in about 1,000 municipalities or counties throughout the United States. So does anybody know where that is? I think Eric does, because he was there that day, right? Were you there at our groundbreaking? We build houses in partnership with low-income people for no profit and very little interest. And our prices are affordable. We put deed restrictions on our homes. They're either 30, 50, or 99 years, so that all the money and all the work that we go into creating our homes, that there's no windfall. We sell our homes to folks. We do not give away. This is the best hand-up program that you'll ever find. Our homeowners will go through homeownership education. They learn about the responsibilities of being a homeowner, and we teach them, especially in our condo associations, we teach them how to be a condo association member. And if you are part of a condo association, you know that's its own little government and so forth, and that's not for the faint of heart. And again, we build homes in partnership with people you know, people we need, and people you love. So that picture is a photo of our groundbreaking at 146 Morse Avenue. And that's in Summit. It's not too far from here. It's modular construction. We're building that in 2 phases. It's 12 homes. There are two sixplexes. So we have 3 2-bedroom and 3 3-bedroom, and they're for both low and moderate income households. Okay, and here's a timeline because everybody wants to know, what are you doing? We demolished, what we did was we bought the old Italian American Club. And as an aside, my family, when they came off the boat from Italy in the early 1900s, settled on Ashwood Avenue. The Mycone family, you might know them. My great-grandparents lived there, and then they had 10 kids. And they are scattered all over. In fact, my uncle Ed Mycone was a dentist for many years in Summit, and his sons, he raised his family there. So I'm just ingratiating myself here with the Summit area if you live in Summit. So Summit's been in my blood forever. My mother went to St. Teresa's Church, and I could tell you lots of stories. But anyway, they settled there because Summit was a place for the immigrants that came, and my great-grandfather was a landscaper for Admiral Byrd in Summit. So the timeline is that so it was kind of fitting that we were introduced to the Italian American Club. We just saw, and I guess you're reading a book about how these social clubs are going away, but new opportunities for getting together are still alive. Groups like Habitat for Humanity, where people want to come in and want to volunteer for a shorter amount of time. You can volunteer for every day if you want. But we're finding that volunteerism is still alive, but it's changed, just it changed. So anyway, we demolished the Italian American Club last year. The infrastructure and the site work is in. And we set on October, I want to say October 5th or something like that, the first building. And we will be doing the second phase. The first phase will be completed. All 6 units will be done by the end of June. And the second phase will be getting the modular buildings for the second phase sometime in the summer of 23. And we should finish all 12 units. We'll be able to close on all 12 by the end of 2023. So we really, 1 year, we're putting in all 12 families. Now, we were talking, some of my my volunteers who are retired, mainly retired men, we've got some retired women too, that are part of our summit project. They've been working on this 2 years to do just the committee work in planning for the actual delivery of those modular units, but very exciting. And to compare, our first project that was 6 units took us over 2 years to from start to finish. The cost is $4.7 million. The acquisition was $1 million, and you can see, you can add up the rest of it. The modular units were over about $3.5 million, 3.7. But that's all said and done. The town gave us $1.4 million in their trust fund dollars to help with the acquisition. So, which is really nice. And between the mortgages and we're getting some state money in there, we actually have about $100,000 gap only. So, which is really terrific. We've got some congregations and the Summit Area Civic Foundation and so forth that are also supporting this project. So here's our groundbreaking that we had on the 25th. Some more pictures of the groundbreaking. Here's our foundation work. And by the way, I encourage you to go over there. You drive down Morris Avenue and then go on to Ashwood, and you go to Ashwood Court. You can see it from the back. Here's the day that it was really muddy, that we had the delivery of the modular units for the first phase come. And we had to stage them. We didn't know where to stage them. So Fountain Baptist Church allowed us to use their parking lot, which was really awesome. And here's the day that they were actually coming in. And they're really all done right up to the sheetrock, and the cabinets were in. And you can see they're putting, the roof is a folding roof. So we were able to get that on there with cranes. Here's what it looked like a couple of days later. And I'll show you. I'll leave it up here so you can see, but this is the architect rendering of, and I'll show, no, see, I guess I have to show it here maybe for the folks online. It looks really nice. It was designed by an architect named Seth Lieb, who does a lot of work in Summit. He's very, very, very talented. Our goal was to fit into the neighborhood. He designed our 39 Morris Avenue project. And the idea there was make it look like a single family home from the road. So you didn't have this massive feel as you drove by. And I think if you go to 39 Morris, make sure somebody's driving you, because you'll pass it. It's right before the light there at Orchard. But I'm really happy to report that all of the families at 39 Morris are still in their homes, paying their mortgages. We've never had a foreclosure in our 37-year history. We, because of the training and the work that we do, we've modified a couple of loans because life happens to people. When you hold mortgages like we do for most of our mortgages, we'll hold the mortgage, we can modify, but we can work with families. But that's because they put in over 300 hours of sweat equity and they know where every nail is. They hear all the drama of construction. And, you know, if you ever made anything, you know that you don't want to give that up. And I think that's the difference. So this says that we've built or rehabbed 120, but recently we merged with the Greater Plainfield area habitat. That was in 1920. That was our COVID that we were actually merging with that affiliate. And so together we've done 175 homes in Morris, Union, and Middlesex counties. We have a pipeline, a pretty aggressive pipeline to build 120 units in 12 municipalities. In 2023, we will have 71 homes under construction. 71, yes. It's a lot, but we're going to do it. I believe in setting big, bold, audacious goals because I'll tell you, during COVID, my cell phone rang off the hook with people just in need, just people that are, you know, working like in our DPW, at our county government, you know, in our restaurants, schools. It's really quite amazing. We are also part of that 71. We have 25 units under construction in Randolph, and that's in four buildings. And we are finishing up phase 1, which is about 13 units. We should be closing on them in the first quarter of 23. And we're starting the second phase very soon because our Congresswoman, Mikey Sherrill, supported our project $3 million from the federal budget. So from the community project funding. And I'll tell you, why is this important? We go after a lot of government funds because I know this area pays out a lot and we don't get anything in. So I'm bringing it in home and CDBG and SHOP funds, because why not, right? It's there. We should bring it in. So I'm bringing in that money so that we can help ourselves because this is us. This is our kids, people who are seniors. In fact, we're looking at projects for a lot of 1-bedrooms because we're getting average age 55, single person. They went through their retirement during the first economic downturn, and they're living social security. Now they're getting up near Social Security and whatever job they can get, and they need our program. So, and we are only home ownership. We have a home repair and aging in place program for low income homeowners. And we do ramps, we do window replacement, roof replacement, grab bars, accessory improvements, changing faucets. And that program is really growing. In fact, we also got $1.6 million from the feds to do a healthy homes program there. And we've expanded that so that we can, throughout our service area, help. Lots of volunteers, groups, individuals. You only need 2 things. And this is for the people up there too. A pulse and a smile. And you have masks on, so you can pretend you have a smile if you don't, but that's okay. Pulse and a smile, because we like this. Because I have to tell you, they did not hire me for my construction ability, but I know how to bring people in and how to use your talent. So we do that. We do a lot of advocacy. We have a restore where we sell new and gently used building materials and furnishing. If you're moving, upsizing, downsizes, and you don't want your stuff, and you know your kids don't want that Lennox, they don't. Ask your spouse, they don't want that. So donate it to us and we will sell it. We will honor it too. We'll sell it, and it raises money for our program. And we have an online e-commerce that is also so you can shop from the comfort of your home. We do events and fundraising. We have a big gala coming up the end of February. Our first one in since 2020. So that's really nice since the pandemic. And this is why we do what we do. Our future. This is little Oliver. He's the baby of one of our homeowners. And that family, they were living in her bedroom after he lost his job, and they had to move back to her house with the kids and a baby. And the parents, her parents came out every single day. You can only imagine having, you know, your daughter, the son-in-law, and a couple of kids in your house when you're retired. That's tough. I'm raising a granddaughter, I can tell you. So it was really nice that they came out and they were able to help build the house for Oliver. But this is our program. So I hope to see you either come out and watch our homes being built, go down to the summit. That we're there every day. Tom Wesco or Todd. We just hired him. I forgot his last name. Anyway, Tom and Todd are down there. You can talk with them. We also have contractors there. You can get a good view from Ashwood Court, but you can help by advocating, educating. Now you know a little bit about the history of the need for affordable housing, and everyone. Just remember that everyone deserves a decent and safe place, an affordable place to live. So thank you very much again.
Blair, thank you so much for a marvelous talk, a very personal talk. And thank you so much and your organization for doing the Lord's work. Thank you. Do we have a question from the audience?
Please step forward and come to the podium to ask the questions. There are a couple of chairs.
Start with Joe.
Come up and wave. Want to ask a question?
Okay. Right over here.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful program Habitat for Humanity is. I can't think of anything better than enabling people to own where they live. I'm curious, you mentioned deed restrictions that go out as long as 99 years. Could you talk a little bit about what those deed restrictions are? And particularly, eventually these properties will be transferred either upon death of the resident, or maybe they have a change in economic circumstances. They're now able to move up and they want to sell it. Is there any deed restriction that would enable, if it's sold at a substantial profit, let's say, that there would be some sort of profit sharing? So some of the money might come back to Habitat for Humanity so they could plow that back into more projects.
Yes, that's very observant, because the deed restriction to me is a very important part of our program. So we, and you'll hear, again, you're going to hear lots of talk about this in the US about how to create that generational wealth that I talked about that some groups have really missed out on. So our program does agree deed restrictions. It's 30, sometimes 30, 50, and 99 years, depending, we prefer 99 years, depending if the municipality allows us or not. We work with municipalities on their affordable housing obligation. And that's important to understand that. So in Summit, they had to build 50 units before 2025, and we are 12 of those units. So we're working closely with them. The deed restriction means that the family has to go to Summit. They have an administrator that does, it's a person that is, actually they hire a company that will administer all their affordable housing in the town. And so so the homeowner goes there, says, I want to sell my house. The house then gets remarketed out to a certain 4-county area to bring in another income eligible household. So they have to be income eligible. The state gives us the income eligibility rules. So when it's adjusted by household size, and I know this is a little bit like, but there's, so income eligibility adjusted by household size, and then it's sold, and that family has to get a mortgage from a bank, or in many banks are using their CRA credit to offer low interest mortgages. Now, when the 99 years or the 30 years is up, the house then is sold in the market, and there is it's equity sharing, but it goes back to the town. Okay, so what you are offering as a solution is something that we collectively, housers in the Habitat land, talking about how do we do more, equity sharing, where it can go maybe back to the person or back to Habitat. But right now it's going back to the town. Remember, I said that the town gave us $1.4 million summit for this project. That's from their Affordable Housing Trust Fund, not from tax-paying dollars. That's from a developer who went into Summit and they created either commercial or real estate development, and they had to pay a fee. So when the homeowners sell, that piece, that equity sharing is going to go back into the pot. There's more to this that I can talk about, but I think there's a lot of questions, and I'm happy to kind of send information to you to put it in writing so that you can think about it. Okay.
Okay, Mitch.
I'm going to violate the prime directive and actually give a little speech, but Blair, you'll appreciate this. I have a good friend from scouting, and I really hope we can actually get him here as a speaker. His name is Frank Cacaval, and he teaches structural design and fabrication at Roxbury High School. Now, let me tell you, this ain't the shop class that we all had when we were kids, because last year they built a full home for Habitat for Humanity. And so the kids got to, of course, do the structural framing, but they also got to work on the plumbing, the electrical, all of the different stuff. And then when they got contractors to pour the foundation and bring it in, and then certified plumbers and electricians and so forth did the final hookups and everything like that. Very, very cool project. And they did it right in the parking lot of the high school. So everybody in high school watched this thing as it went from 1 2x4 to 2 2x4s, blah, 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 blah. And guess what? They're doing the same thing again this year. But I think that is just an awesome, at many levels, it's awesome because the kids get to do really cool stuff. So with all of that as a preamble, you want to take it away from there, Blair?
Yeah, that was a really terrific project from Frank, very talented young man. And those students, some of them were, just not really sure what they were going to do with their life. And Frank developed this program that was actually modular. They built a modular home that we, had a crane come and put it on a flatbed truck and installed. In fact, I think today may be the closing for the family for that home, even though we finished it in like September or October, but we closed today, I believe. So it's really, really great. If you go on our website, it's loaded with all this stuff. And we even have a little bit about the deed restriction on there too.
Anyone online?
Yes, we'll hear from Bill Tittle. He's the first hand online.
A great talk. You're a ball of fire. I love you. It's great. How does the real estate industry react to Habitat for Humanity?
Yeah, they like us because some developers who many of the large developers who have they are required to incorporate affordable housing in their projects. They will work with us in the municipality to do the affordable housing piece. So in Morristown, a developer needed, I think he was building about 100 units, and he didn't really want to put his 10 units in the development because they were very high end rental. And so it was, he thought that our program would be better to partner with Morris Habitat. So he paid us a lot of money to buy a project that was partially done elsewhere in Morristown, 10 units for home ownership. So he traded rental for the home ownership, where we built his 10 units somewhere else. So that was a nice partnership, and we've done that, with municipalities saying, hey, we'll do 100% affordable, work with the developer. So it's hand in hand. It's hard for developers to have the same kind of program that we have, because we feel that we need to work with the families to get them acclimated to home ownership and the responsibilities, to transition into home ownership rather than just, hey, here's the keys and bye-bye, because many of our families are first generational. So yeah, developers are okay. They're fine with us. Mhm.
Okay, Jack?
I was brought up at 147 Marks Avenue and lived there for 65 years. My question is, how does real estate taxes affect the homeowner?
These are great questions. There is state legislation that was passed in the 90s that allowed affordable housing developers for home ownership to work with the municipalities to tax the affordable homes at the sale price. So if I sold my house to the homeowner for 100,000, it's not the assessed value. The assessed value may be higher, so it's at the sale price. So we and the municipalities, even to this day, we use that. So our homeowners pay property taxes, but it's at the sale price. Now I'll tell you, the homes in Summit, the ones that we're doing now, right, Chris? We've got 150, 180. I think we might even have one or two that are 200,000. So that's what the property taxes will be based on. Now, and keep in mind, there's no windfall, and they have to sell for a modest increase only.
Okay, DJ Perone online.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you for this wonderful presentation. Really enjoyed it. I have a couple of questions regarding, you mentioned Summit is in need of 50 units by 2025. And I assume this number is set by the New Jersey law. And I understand that this is currently challenged by some communities, which are now suing the state because it's too many. And on that line, I'd like you to comment on the highly controversial project in Summit, called the Broad Street project. And are you involved with that? And do you have any thoughts about all that? Thank you.
And thank you. I don't have any comments on the current controversial project in Summit. I don't really know that much about it, but I can tell you in the big picture, Fair Share Housing Center has been working, in some cases suing municipalities who are not meeting their court mandated affordable housing obligation. That happened in 1976. The state Supreme Court mandated that every municipality in New Jersey must meet affordable housing obligations. It's been a almost 50-year deal. And so, yes, and every 10 years there's a round, and round 4 starts in 2025. So the latest round, which was round 3, Summit was required to, they incorporated affordable housing in their master plan and the housing element of the master plan. But they had to build on, had to be real, not just like we will someday, but you have to build 50 homes. And so the 12 that we're building is part of that. And why is this controversial? This is why I started out my presentation with why is Habitat? Why are we needed? Because we all have to understand we need people of all incomes in our communities, hardworking people that we need. And so why some of these projects, and I don't know about the current one that's controversial, but my 146 Mars Avenue was also controversial. The residents appealed the zoning decision. And it's hard. It's very hard for us when we're trying to help the town meet its obligation, when we have to, now pay legal fees for the zoning challenge. So it's a complex and another conversation on just the need for affordable housing and the mandates from the state and fair share housing. To me, that would be a great panel discussion and bring some experts in, but we all have to not be afraid. That's really the thing, and really understand who's living in the homes. Summit has a wonderful example of public housing, and you probably don't even know it, So anyway, I won't lecture on that.
Well, Blair, thanks a lot. If all you need is a pulse and a smile to work, this group is really cognizant of the pulse part, because we only got so many left. When I was in the Florham Park office with Exxon, we had a young engineer who went to NJIT, and he got us involved in Newark Habitat. So we worked in the North Ward. She's shaking her head. The North Ward at that time in the 90s was characterized by liquor stores, pawn shops, and if you went to get something to eat, you were faced with a counter that had 1-inch thick plexiglass. But anyway, oh, and by the way, the lots that Habitat Newark were getting cost $1. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, when I worked there, I worked with the people who were qualifying to buy the house. So they have to do sweat equity. Is that what you call it?
Yes.
And I met this young couple, young man, woman, and a wife, a kid, sorry. And he was making $25,000 working for the city of Newark. So that was, and he was in it. I mean, this place was so tough that the guard dogs were stolen at night. Bitter. But the thing I want to pitch for you is that they needed volunteers, but what they really need is money. Now, she had it at the bottom of her list, but obviously they're going out hunting for money from various places, but they could use our money too. So we can go onto the website and
I brought brochures. There's
okay.
brochures that you can.
Please.
Okay.
They're here online.
Okay, I brought brochures for both our restore, if you want to visit or donate there, and about our general brochure about our Habitat program in Morris County and Middlesex County.
Okay, Mike Katz.
Yes, thank you, Blair. It's a most interesting project you're working on, and it's really terrific. Have the 12 units on Morris Avenue Summit been sold yet? And if not, how are they being marketed?
They're not sold. We market to a 4-county area and we go through a whole process. So we do online. In fact, for that particular project, I think we had 500 interested people for 12. And then we boil it down to, they have to have the need, they have to be income eligible, and they have to be willing to do the sweat equity. And sweat equity is almost like anything. I mean, we'll work with people. And then we assign them a number, and that number goes into a bingo machine, and we spin it around, and it's a blind selection. All 12 have already been selected, and they've already started working on their our sweat equity. And the sweat equity ranges based on, again, their family size, between 300 and 500 hours. And I just challenge anyone who have a family, you're working, and then you have to come and volunteer at least one day a week for 8 hours. That's a lot. And then go through home ownership education. So they're doing that. And for this project, we have to wait until all the units are done before we can actually sell the units. So I think that I answer all your questions. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you want to hold? We told Richard next and.
Oh, sorry. Well, anyway. First of all, let me say thank you so much, Blair. I've been incredibly impressed with Habitat since decades ago. Some work crews from my church went and helped build one of the houses in Summit. And now I'm more impressed than ever. But I'm also impressed the fact that Habitat idea has expanded so incredibly. And reading on the website, it's in all 50 states and it's international. Could you say a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit about the scope out of everybody else in Habitat?
Yeah. So we are in all 50 states. You'll find a Habitat somewhere, about 1,000 affiliates like Mars Habitat. Some are small, medium, large, in the rural areas, in cities. We happen to be a more suburban. I mean, our Mars Habitat's sort of MO, if you will. We work with municipality on helping them with their affordable housing obligation. We're also in about 70 countries worldwide. We have global village trips that'll be powered up starting next summer, where we bring volunteers and we work sort of a volunteerism. We work side by side with folks in other countries. We do microloans in other countries. So if a family wants a house, we lend them a little bit of money for a room at a time. A very successful program that's happening throughout the world. Habitat for Humanity are thought leaders in advocacy, both here in the US and around the world. You'll hear about our CEO, Jonathan Reckford, who, by the way, his grandmother was Millicent Fenwick, who was my idol, as you can imagine, as a former politician. I loved her. And she, so Jonathan Reckford. So leaving you with some research, go back and read about Jonathan and Millicent Fenwick. But so he has some Jersey roots. His mother was Millicent's daughter. So anyway.
Okay, Richard.
So one question, how do we volunteer?
That's terrific.
You have the floor.
Go to our website, marishabitat.org. There's a calendar, and it'll basically just lead you step by step. If you want to volunteer as a group, there's a place for group volunteers. Stephanie, who works with Chris, will help you as a group. And I'm really serious. We only need a pulse and a smile. We teach you everything. We've got a terrific group of retired men and women who help us in all aspects of our program. And if you are interested in, and we do a lot of this hybrid, because we live in a different day and age, and we've got to change with the times. And in fact, John Stromberg, who some people here know, he's a retired engineer from Exxon. He helped us. He's one of the folks on this committee. He comes out to the site a little bit, but he's really sitting in a committee helping us. We tap into this because that's what we need. I can't pay for it, but I can tap into it. So just website, marshabitat.org.
Online, Paul or Mark?
Nobody else. Last chance, guys.
Oh, Tom, please. Tom Payton.
I understand everything you said, but I'm curious about the relationship between Mars Habitat for Humanity and the organization that people know around the world.
Oh, okay. I can repeat. I can repeat that. He wanted to know the relationship between Mars Habitat and the habitats around the world. Well, we're an affiliate of Habitat for Humanity International. I like to say we have the same last name, Habitat for Humanity. Could be Morris or Newark or whatever, Patterson, but we all have the same last name. And we have the same mission. And that mission is to work together with communities. And I'll just kind of paraphrase, with the power of the hammer, put aside our differences and work to help folks with their affordable housing needs. And it can be repair or home ownership, advocacy, in some way. So the relationship is we work together. I serve as a member of the Habitat for Humanity US Council, which is like the board of directors for Habitat US. And we do a lot of, talk among ourselves. We share best practices here in the US and again, around the world. So we're under the one big tent. Similar to Rotary, very similar how Rotary operates. And maybe I think the YMCA's and United Way and so forth.
Blair and Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. And now Eric Hausker will provide our formal thank you.
Well, as they say on 101.5 FM, not New York, not Philadelphia, proud to be New Jersey.
There we go.
Now, I hope that the program director for a year from now, I'm sure we're starting to do some organizing for that, getting someone in place for December 2023. I hope they will have this amazing lady come back to bring us up to date on the final ribbon cutting or the final.
Oh, yes, you're all invited.
Wasn't there a country music song that said, "You had me at hello"? Well, because one of the very first things, as you remember back at the beginning of her presentation, was affordable housing is good for kids.
Right.
Now, in 2008, I was visiting my son in Hawaii on the north beach of Oahu. Oahu? Yes, that was the main island. There's a whole beach of people living in tents because of the situation, just like it is now. Las Vegas, San Diego, San Francisco, just covered with tent cities. And there's children living in those tents who get up every morning and go to school. So that really doesn't require any more explanation. Anyhow, we have three ways to thank you, Blair. One is a certificate of appreciation.
We came up in the elevator.
Second is a corsage.
Oh.
And the third is the old guard salute. Come on, guys.
Oh.